Hi, my name is Lim Wen Yi, and my metric number is 26250. And in this assignment, it's focused on my management technique individual assignment. So I chose money laundering as this individual assignment's topic. So money laundering, usually when we heard about money laundering, it will come up with the corruption and the organized crimes. Since the organized crimes is dominate the illegal business, so it means that money laundering is not an independent crime because the source of the money laundering is from the illegal business. So it actually will relate to each other. Besides, with the ever evolving of internet, also will give more opportunity to our launderer when come up with a new technique on money laundering. Money laundering can be simplified, redefine the illegal money or to transform the illegal money into a legal financial system. So there's 3 stages on money laundering, which they have to separate the illegal money into the financial system and create multiple transactions, and lastly is to collect back the money. So in terminology, the words it's called placement, layering, and integration. As we mentioned before, money laundering has a positive relationship with the criminal event because the source of money laundering came up from the illegal event or business. So if we did not manage the money laundering cases appropriately, it will eventually cause many negative outcomes. So for a long-term consequence, it will restrain the growth and the competitiveness of the company, not just company, it may be whole government or whole country. That's why AML exists to prevent these activities to going on. So AML is actually anti-money laundering. So this is a particular form to investigate on any issue related with money laundering. And they will come up various techniques to overcome or to prevent the money laundering event happen. So the Wachovia cases is pretty popular in the money laundering case compared with the others, since until now it is one of the largest case involved in this world because the amount that involved is very high. And this case is been discovered by the investigator in 2010. And after they do the investigate to Wachovia Bank, they find out the members is helping the Mexican drug dealers to launder the money from 2004 until 2007 through its branch. So it means that in that 3 years, they have been transferring money without any notice by the employees at Wachovia Bank at the branch. After the investigation, they find out the total amount involved in these cases is at least 110 billion US dollar. And this is just at least, not actually the exact amount. So that's why this is still one of the biggest case in the money laundering cases. So now let's move on to our literature review. So money laundering. The originate of this money laundering is defined as any organized crime associated to financial system. But with the evolving in this society, the money laundering it indicate that every financial transaction that generate an asset or value from illegal acts. As mentioned before, money laundering has involved 3 stages, which means placement, layering, and integration. So placement is the first step of money laundering. It means that they have to divide the dirty cash into the financial system. So and at this stage, actually, it's very high exposure risk because the transaction amount is very high. So when the group put the money into the financial system, it's easily to be noticed by the authorized department. So after they're successful to place the money into the legal system, they have to layer it, which means that they have to transfer the money through multiple transactions. So any individual will not track the originate source of the money. So they will be more secure from the law. And they will just separate the huge amount into a small different form so they can do multiple transactions without getting any attraction from the authorized department. And after that, they have to integration, which means that they have to collect back the dirty cash in the legit form. So they have to collect back in various ways, and after they collect back, they can just use the money to buy an estate or to buy investment thing, make it into another form. So smurfing is one of the oldest technique that using in the money laundering technique, which means that deposit amount into the account. So the launderer usually will distribute the illegal money into a different size, and then they will deposit it into a different account on the different time. So for a cash intensive business, it's using a legal business to refund money, which means that the launderer have a legal business that operate its usual, but the actually aim of the business is not just doing business, it's actually to launder the money. When they are collecting the money or when they are doing their report, they will just intentionally to add the illegal money with the legal money and mix up together. So the authorized department won't easily to discover the money. But after all things considered, some of the launderer will think that it is very high risk by doing the smurfing or cash intensive. So they will just using gold technique, which means that they will just using the illegal money to buy the gold, or just using the gold that get from the illegal activities, and then they melted it and then redesign it and then sold it, or they just keep themselves. Because by doing this, the authorized department is hard to define that the gold is actually come from where, because it is melted already, so it lost the original size or original mode of the gold. And after they redesign it, it will become a new form. Besides, by using gold technique, when they have to get the gold, they no need to do any transaction by like withdraw the money from the deposit, so they can just cover their tracking easily. So with the ever evolving in the internet, there is a new technique that occur in money laundering, which means that the modern money laundering, by using the network to place the money into a digital financial ecosystem. For example, like using online banking, online gambling, or e-cash, since it is fast and not easily to be tracking down or being discovered by somebody. And some of the launderer will using central currency to launder money, like Bitcoin. It's quite popular in recent years. So that's why the anti-money laundering is existing to combat the money laundering event. Because without any control, the money laundering cases will be keep increasing, and it will bring a lot of negative outcomes to our world, not even just in the financial sector. So in anti-money laundering, there is FATA, which means that it's Financial Action Task Force. So this is an independent intergovernment organized system specialized for developing and promoting standard of global anti-money laundering or counter financial terrorist. So FATA is not just for only one country. Each country have to cooperate with each other in order to be more effective on the anti-money laundering. So FATA, they will usually to investigate any problem that related with financial system, and they will find the gray area for the money laundering system, and then getting new standard to prevent the anti-money laundering. Besides, with the AML index, it's able to evaluate the risk level for the money laundering. The AML index is used by many countries to evaluate the risk. Because when we evaluate the risk, we know the risk level, and the high risk country will be more aware on the money laundering cases. So for this photo, this is a world photo. As you can see that the red color is the very high risk, 9 until 9.9. And with the changes of the color from red to green, it means that the high risk to the low risk. So as we can see that most of the company is on the normal and a bit high because it's orange color. So this is the top 10 of the AML index. So as you can see that, so the Afghanistan is the highest risk level compared with the other country. And the second is Hatyai and Myanmar, Laos, and this is just the top 10. And I didn't list out for the whole country, and this is the whole country one. So in somehow comprehensive, the anti-money laundering is not really effective. So maybe we are targeting in the wrong area. So because we are focusing on the AML rules and regulation, but actually we should also focusing on the illegal activities, because the source of the money laundering is come from the illegal activities. So by controlling the illegal activities is able to directly reduce the money laundering cases. As we all know that money laundering cases is happened a long time ago, still they don't have an applicable solution to completely stop this event. So I believe that by focusing the combat on the placement or either one of the steps, it's able to causing the launderer will unable to continue to perform the next step. So the money laundering cases won't happen. Even though we cannot completely stop this event, but by using the AML, we can reduce the cases. The AML index is evaluate the risk, and by having the AML standard to all countries, so all countries will have a same guideline on evaluating the money laundering cases. Besides, to combat the money laundering, it's actually not only the responsibility for the ML, it's actually for all individuals. Furthermore, there is a FATA group specifically to discover or suspended any transaction or movement with potential existing money laundering. So with this special group, they will able to target more suspicious transaction and to combat the money laundering cases. So even though by doing this, we're not able to terminate completely, but it able to reduce the cases. So as we mentioned before, there is a relationship between the money laundering and the criminal event. So more specifically, is the money laundering has relationship with the criminal event, but the criminal event is not actually have the relationship with the money laundering, because source of money laundering is came up with the criminal cases. So when the money laundering case increase, it indicate that the criminal case will also increase, but the criminal cases not necessarily will bring to the money laundering. So that's why the relationship between the money laundering and the criminal is actually quite special. Though by implement the ML, it's doing well, but there is some threats on implementing the AM's various threats. But in this, I'm just list down 3 of them. And the first one is pressure. Pressure from the supervisor on the achievement in this sector. And this is more specific on the financial individual. Because sometimes the pressure is good, but the overpressure will causing the employee to do something wrong in order to get the achievement. Because if they are able to get achievement in a legal way, sometimes they will intentionally help the to launder the money in order to get the achievement in this sector. So sometimes the overpressure will directly lead to a high money laundering risk. And the second is the ever evolving in the technology. So as we know that the technology is keep increasing, have the advance in the world. And it is good for us on any ways, but it also gives the opportunity to the launderer that they can create or come up more technique on the money laundering. Because by using the network, the launderer will able to remote manipulation from a long distance, and they can hiding themselves from the network. So AML actually should have turned these threats to an opportunity by using the achievement on the technology and designing a particular software to detect the suspicious transaction. Because by using the technology, they will able to monitor the transaction on 24 hours without human control. And besides, the law awareness also a threat to AML, because since they didn't have a appropriate education about this topic since they are in the university or from the government. So I think the government sometimes should give the information about money laundering or the dangers of the money laundering to the society. So in order to prevent on doing this, or the government can invest the potential individual on AML. So that's all for me, and thank you.